first, right? If your resume is the issue, we're going to be talking about this in the next 60 minutes. And how do you know if your resume is an issue? Well, if you're submitting your application to jobs and no one is calling you for work, then that simply means that the hiring manager is not seeing what they want to see. Okay. So if your resume does not attract the attention of hiring managers, meaning they don't see what they want to see, then no one's going to call you back and you're going to get rejection letters, and you're not going to know why. I'm going to tell you why. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to find literally thousands of jobs in seconds on LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and Indeed.com, and how to apply to those jobs so you are maximizing the number of hiring managers that you're getting in front of, right? I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. The third thing I'm going to talk to you about is interviewing, right? When you interview, what is the interview really about? What is the interview not about, right? I'm going to talk to you about that. Most candidates, when they interview, they make a humongous mistake. They think the interview is about one thing, but it's not about that. So they end up answering questions in a way that the hiring manager does not like. And so they don't get the job, and they don't know why. They think they did a great job in the interview, and they end up not getting an offer. And then they're like, what in the world happened? Well, I'm going to tell you what happened and why you didn't get the offer. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you can send one email once you get a written offer, how you can send one email and get $2,000 to $10,000 from every written offer you get for the rest of your life. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. If this is your first time here, my name is Daniel. I've been in talent acquisition and recruiting for 35 years, supporting hiring managers and candidates like you, trying to get you hired since the early 90s, right? And what I discovered is hiring managers ask the same interview questions. They look for the same exact things, and they have been looking for the same thing for over 30 years. The problem is no one is telling you. So I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. So here's the deal. If you're someone who is currently working on a job and you're like, I want to get out of here. I need to get out of this place, right? And you just don't want to be there anymore. You need to find a new job. I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. Or you're someone who is not working and you want to find another job. I'm going to show you how, if you start today doing exactly what I'm saying, in 30 days from now or less, you will have a new, higher paying job in 30 days or less. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So tap the screen. If I say anything that's interesting to you, you like, it helps us to spread the live throughout the platform. If you just tap the screen, it helps that. Okay. So let's talk about resumes. Resumes. What is the resume and what is it all about? What is it not about? Right. Well, I can tell you this. The resume is not about you showing the hiring manager your historical, chronological, skill, experience, education, and background. It's not about that. It used to be about that many, many years ago, but it's not about that anymore. It's not about you showing your chronological work history and so on and so forth. That's not what it's about. Your resume is a marketing document. I need you to really, really understand that, okay? It is a document you use to market your skill, experience, education, and background as a solution to meet the needs of a hiring manager. If you don't understand that, you will position your resume as a historical document showing your previous work experience, education, and background, and no one will call you back, okay? So you could submit your resume to as many jobs as you want, but if when the hiring manager looks at your resume, if they don't see what they want to see, you're going to get a rejection letter. I'm just telling you. Or no one's going to call you at all. Okay? Now, how do I know this? Well, I've been recruiting for a long time. And when I was recruiting, senior recruiter at a customer service call center, I was submitting candidates to the hiring manager, right? And they were telling me no. I would have a conversation with you, talk to you about your skill, experience, education, and background. And I based on that conversation, I knew you were a fit. Based on what the hiring manager told me what they wanted. So I was only introducing people to them that they wanted. and they were telling me no, and I couldn't understand why. Well, one of my directors asked me, do a survey, asked them why, and they told me, I don't see what Daniel is telling me. He's telling me this person has the experience, but I don't see it. And then I would go and show them. This is where that person did it. This is what it looks like. And they would say to me, I still don't want to talk to him. Right? And that would really, really upset me, to be quite frank with you. I didn't like it, right? Because I felt like I was being rejected. You asked me to do a job. You asked me to find candidates who match exactly what you're looking for. I find you those people and you're telling me no. I felt like they were rejecting me, right? Well, I learned that that wasn't the case. The issue was I wasn't showing them what they wanted to see when I submitted your resume. That was my problem, right? So about 24 or 25 years ago, I started doing something completely different, right? When I found out what the hiring managers wanted to see, this is what I started doing. I would interview you, screen you, you'll be a perfect fit, and then I would tell you, okay, if I submit your resume to the hiring manager like this, they're not going to want to interview you. So I am going to rework your resume. I'm going to do it for you. Before I submit it to the hiring manager, I'm going to send it back to you. I want you to look at it. I want to make sure that everything on there is what it's supposed to be. It'll look different, but I want to make sure that you understand what I've done. And once you tell me, yeah, it looks great, I would submit your information to the hiring manager and you would get an interview. I went from 1 to 2 out of every 10 people that I submitted to the hiring manager getting interviews. And when I started changing your resume, it went to 8 out of 10 getting a job interview, which means more people got hired. Now, because I was doing a lot better at getting more people hired, I got promoted, right? I was stuck in a whirlwind because I was submitting the resume the way you submitted it to me. And hiring managers didn't want to see that. So there's 3 things every hiring manager wants to see, and I'm about to tell you what those 3 things are right now. So make sure you write them down. Now I'm going to prove to you that this is the case because you do the exact same thing when you search for jobs. You do the same thing. There are 4 things every candidate wants to know about a job before they click apply, right? 4 things. I learned this when I was recruiting at this same call center, right? And I learned this in the early 90s when I was writing newspaper ads. What are those 4 things that you want to know before you apply to a job? Number 1, you see the job posting, you see the job title, you're asking yourself, what does this job do, right? What do they want someone to do in terms of the work? That's the first thing you want to know. The second thing you want to know is, now that I know what this job does, where is this job located? Like if it's 3 hours away from my house, I'm not interested. It's just too far to drive, right? The third thing you want to know is, okay, if it's close to where you live, doing what you want to do, how much does this job pay? Like you're not going to click apply if the job doesn't pay what you want to make, right? So that's the third thing you want to know. Now that you know what the job does, where it's located, and how much it pays, the last thing you ask yourself is this. Okay, if I apply for this job right now, what are my chances for getting an interview and getting hired? And that speaks to how long has this job been open and how many jobs are actually open? How many are they publicizing that are open, right? So what I used to do on customer service call center jobs is this is what I used to do. This is just my little secret, right? If we had 20 jobs open for a customer service call center department, I would put 100 jobs open on the job posting. 100, right? And the reason why I did that is because if you saw that ad a week later, you would still think that there was jobs open and you would apply to it. That's how I got so many people hired every single week at a call center I work for. Okay. And this works on every position you can imagine. Administrative assistant, accounting positions, C-level exec. I do the exact same thing. And that's how I became a very effective high volume recruiter, because I understood what you were looking for. I knew that if I didn't show you what you wanted, you were not going to click apply. So let's think about it from the perspective of a hiring manager. See, you think if the job doesn't have what you're interested in or what you want to know, it's a waste of your time. Hiring managers think the same thing. If they don't see what they want to see on your resume, they believe they are wasting their time. They think it's a waste of time. I'm not going to talk to this person. Why would I talk to this person? They can't do what I need someone to do. Even though you might have the experience, they just don't see it. So I started changing it. 3 things every hiring manager wants to see. Now we are at 71 likes. It's 86 people in the room. I want everyone to take a second, 15 seconds, and tap the screen 30 times. It'll take you 10 seconds to tap the screen 30 times. All we're trying to do is spread it throughout the platform to let them know that we're here. Okay? All right. What 3 things does every hiring manager want to see? Number 1, when you submit your application, they want to know, just like you wanted to know, what will I be doing? They want to know, okay, what does this person do? They see maybe a job title you have, but they want to know, what do you do, right? As in terms of work, your expertise. So mine says I'm a senior talent acquisition and recruiting leader. That's what mine says. So that's the first thing every hiring manager sees. There's no question about what I do. I'm a senior talent acquisition and recruiting leader. What are you? That's what you have to make sure that you are putting. The second thing every hiring manager wanted to see from me is, okay, Dan, I see they do this job. How long have they been doing it? Right? Now, why do we want to know how long you've been doing it? Because we put every candidate in one of 3 categories. You're either entry level, mid-level, or senior level. That's it, right? Entry level to us means 0 to 4 years, and you will need to be trained. We know that we have to take the extra time to train you, right? If you have 5 to 9 years, mid-level, we're saying to ourselves, okay, they know the work, but they may need a little bit of training. Not much hand-holding, but a little bit of training. We can't just let this person go and give everything to them right out of the gate, right? They know that's a little bit of extra time, not much extra time, but a little bit of extra time. Now, if you have 10 or more years, we know you're senior level and you don't need any training. We can give you the whole job and you can walk right in and start doing the work immediately. That's how we categorize every candidate. Nobody tells you that, but that's how we categorize every single candidate. So the hiring manager is thinking to themselves, I have time to train people so I can accept entry-level individuals. Or I have little time to train individuals, so anybody that's mid-level, I'm good with that. I don't have any time to train anybody, right? I need to just give this to somebody so they can get it done. They will only hire people who are senior level or above. So you have to tell them. So mine says, when a hiring manager opens my resume, at the very top it says, senior talent acquisition and recruiting leader with 35 years experience. So they automatically know I can walk right in and start doing the work. Okay. Now there's one last thing they want to know that 99% of people do not show them. Okay. And that is quantifiable proof that you can do the job well. How good are you at doing it? That's what they want to know. Now, how do you quantify it? It has to be numbers, percentages. You know, how many people I've hired, how many people I've recruited, how many boxes you've thrown, how many trucks you've loaded, how many customer service calls do you take, how many words a minute you type, how much revenue you've generated, how much revenue you've saved the company, what percentages. That's what we want to see. So check this out. When we look at your resume, we don't read it. We're only skimming and scanning it for this information. We are just looking through your resume to see where those percentages are. And if your resume does not have those percentages, we throw it in the trash. Because you are making us figure it out. And we're not going to do that. Hiring managers will not do it. So those are the things that I started adding. So when you look at a percentage or volume or numbers on me, my captivating headline, the moment somebody picks up my resume, it says, I'm a senior talent acquisition and recruiting leader with 35 years experience hiring 4,000 to 6,000 people annually for medium to large companies in the US. That's what they see. So the hiring manager is saying we need to be hiring 3,000 people a year every year. They just found the guy who can do it, right? So that's what I started doing. Let's say you're a customer service call center rep. I would say this person is a senior customer service call center rep with 12 years experience answering 100 calls a day with a 7-minute call time, right? That's what I would say. This person is a senior executive administrative assistant with 20 years experience supporting C-level executives, high and can type 95 words a minute, something like that, right? That's what they want to see. And that's why they don't call you, because they don't see that. And you get a rejection letter and you don't know why. This is why. Because they think if I call them and try to have a conversation, it's a waste of time. That's what they're thinking. Okay? And that's what I was running into as a recruiter, trying to get you into for an interview. So 25 years ago, I started changing that. And I went from 20% success, meaning interview, submittal, candidate submittal to interview, to 80% success. Okay? So I rework your resume to make sure it shows hiring manager what they want. Now, once the hiring manager sees what you do, how long you've done it, and how good you are at doing it, they go to the next piece and they want to see quantifiable evidence throughout the resume of your expertise. So I call the next section your summary of accomplishments. These are the 10 top things you've done in your career, quantified in bullet form, right? Because again, remember, we're only skimming and scanning. If I see 250 million, I then go back to the beginning and say, what is that 250 million related to? Generated $250 million in annual technology sales. Oh, right? That's how we look at it. Percentages, 27%, right? Reduced costs by 27% annually for the last 10 years. That's what we look at, okay? That's what we look at. I'm telling you. After your summary of accomplishments, then we look at your areas of expertise. Like, where is this person an expert at? Now, expertise to me is defined as you can do this job or this thing so good that you could do it with your hands tied behind your back and your eyes closed. For me, that's ATS management, job board management, recruiting and volume, interviewing, right? I help hiring managers to create job descriptions, and I do all of the job postings, all of them. No one else manages a job posting in the organization I work for but me. I'm the only one who does that. And I do that in every organization because I want to make sure that we're pushing out information to you that is what you want to see so you can apply to the job. Okay, so now that you know that, then you put in your work history, and we just skim and scan through it. We don't read your resume like that. We don't read your work history. We don't. We're just looking for percentages. Where did they work? What did they do? What proof do they have that they've done something well? So I tell every client, you gotta make sure that your resume has quantifiable proof or no one's gonna call you. They won't call you, okay? So that's your resume. Now, your resume is a marketing document. It is no longer a document that just shows your historical work history, education, and background. You are using it to market yourself. What is marketing? It's advertising. You're advertising your expertise and you're introducing yourself to as many hiring managers as you can. Because in today's environment, 2026, applying to 5 jobs a week, 5 jobs a day, it's not going to cut it. It's going to take you forever to get a job. And I'll tell you why. Because hiring managers are delusional. They think they have a lot more qualified candidates in the applicant tracking system than they do. They have a lot of candidates, but most of them are not qualified. Okay? Real number. 2 out of every 100 candidates who submit an application are supremely qualified. What do I mean by supremely qualified? Mean they have everything we want. Only 2 out of every 100. So if we get 250 applications and hiring managers thinking they got 250 qualified candidates, they don't. They're starting to go through these applications, and as they start to see people, they don't even have jobs they don't even have work history that's related to what they want. They start to get frustrated. And I've had many hiring managers say, we need to redo the posting. No, we don't. You just need to go through all of the resumes. That's it. So I do that for them. And I can skim and scan and tell you in 8 seconds if this person is qualified or not. So that's the resume. Here's the deal. If your resume is broken, you can keep using that same document until you are blue in the face. No one's going to call you. So I'm going to review your resume for free. If you email me a copy of your resume, and I'm only going to take 100 people today, 100, that's it. If you email me a copy of your resume, I will respond today and tell you what needs to be changed and how you need to change it so you can get more interviews, right? I'll tell you exactly what to do. Email me a copy of your resume and I'll do a free review for you so you can start getting more interviews. You can keep trying what you're doing. That's up to you. But if you keep doing it, I'm going to tell you, based on what I've just said, you're not going to get any interviews. And if you don't get interviews, you can't get offers. If you don't get offers, you have to stay on that job or continue to stay unemployed. Email me a copy of your resume. It's daniel@dscds.com. daniel@dscds.com. It's right here. daniel@dscds.com. It's also in my profile. All right, next thing we want to talk about is job searching. Now that you have a resume, I'm going to show you how to find tens of thousands of jobs in seconds that you can apply to. And I'm going to explain to you what's going on because most people don't know this. They think, oh, I applied to this job, nobody responded to me. Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. Okay? So, job boards, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and Indeed.com. The whole world is different. When I started in the early 90s, we were putting newspaper ads in a newspaper. Okay? And you would have to go to the Sunday Classified and look at the newspaper to then call a company, do a phone interview when you called, and go up to the company and fill out a paper application. That's what you used to have to do, okay? It's different. Now, the way it works is everything's on a job board, right? So, a bunch of people are sitting behind their keyboards submitting applications. Many of them are qualified, most of them are not, and hiring managers getting that information. Candidates come to me all the time and say, man, ain't no jobs open. I'm applying to jobs and nobody's getting back to me. No jobs open. I can't find jobs. So I have a client that I work with right now. Started working with him 3 weeks ago. Just one example. He's a senior sales account manager, like 30 years experience, right? And so he had been out of work for 8 months. And he came to me and said, Dan, I can't find a job. There's no jobs out here. And I said, what are you talking about? So we did a Zoom, one-on-one Zoom coaching call. And I said, okay, show me how you search for jobs. We went to LinkedIn. Show me how you search for jobs. So he typed in his job title. Okay. And I said, okay, don't do anything else. Just click search. So this is what we call an open search. You just he typed in his job title and click search. That's every job on LinkedIn. All of the jobs with that job title on LinkedIn. I think 5,000 searches came back. 5,000 jobs came back, right? And then I said I want you to sort it by 30 days. Jobs that have been posted within the last 30 days. I think we got down to like 500, right? And then I said I want you to sort it by your level of expertise. He was a senior level manager, almost director. I think we got down to like 14 jobs, something like that. And I said, this is how you're doing your searches? He said, yes. And I said, you're doing it wrong. I said, I'm going to show you how I search, okay? And I said, I want you to take this word out and take that word out and click search. And when he clicked search, it went from 5,400 jobs open to 440,000 jobs that were open. He says, what did you do? I said, you've been searching wrong this whole time. You didn't know it. I said, you are searching by your previous job title, and you should be searching by your single word job function. So you're a salesperson. Even though you're a manager, you can filter by that too. But you need to start off with a very broad search based on one word function. Like for me, that would be recruiting. For him, I said that's sales. You only going to type in sales. And that's why you got 440,000 jobs that it shows you. Now, I said to him, of these 440,000 jobs, 50% of them automatically, they're closed. They've been filled already. You don't know this. I'm telling you right now, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and Indeed.com, when they post a position from our company or any company, right? When they scrape it from our website, if we close that position, they don't close the position on their site until 30, sometimes 60 days later. Minimum of 30 days. So that job could be filled and still open for 30 days. And you're applying to it and you're thinking there are no jobs open. Now, nobody tells you this. Nobody tells you this, right? So there's a way you can do it. If the job seems like it's open, you're not getting a response, you can go to the company's website and see if the company has that job open. I think that's a waste of time to do that, but you can go to the company's website to see if it's open. If it's not open on the website, but it is open on LinkedIn, it's closed, okay? I'm just telling you. Nobody tells you that. I manage the applicant tracking system. I know how this works, right? 30 to 60 days, depending on the job board, that job is going to stay on that job board. And it looks like it's open, but it's closed, okay? Now, 50% of the jobs that you pull up, they will be like that. That's why I have clients sort within the past 30 days jobs were posted. Okay, so that's first. Now that you have searched with your single word job function and you get a bunch of results back, now you need to start filtering by level of expertise. So this guy's director, we sorted by director. I said, how much do you want to pay? He says 120 to 160 or something like that. So I said, let's put 120 to 160 in. Are you okay with working remote, hybrid, or on site? Yes, we did that. And he clicked search. It came down to 45,000 jobs. And then we sorted one more step. And that was, I said, I want you to toggle on easy apply. Okay. He says, why? I said, because you can do an easy apply application that just sends your name and you answer just 2 or 3 questions. You can apply to one job in 21 seconds instead of one job taking you 30 minutes, right? So I said, now that we have this search, I want you to apply to 15 jobs right now, right? So that's what he did. It took 5 minutes, okay? Long story short, he started applying to jobs. I told him, you're going to apply to 30 jobs per day per job board. That's 30 on Zip, 30 on LinkedIn, 30 on Indeed. A day, 7 days a week. That's 630 jobs in 1 week. And you're going to keep doing that every day for 30 days. Well, week 1, he applied to jobs, didn't hear anything back. Week 2, he had 4 job interviews. 4. Okay. Week 3, he had 2 final interviews. And last Friday, he had 2 offers to consider. The guy's been trying to find a job for 8 months. He just didn't know how to find jobs. He didn't know what to do. Same guy, same experience, just didn't know how to find jobs. So I told him exactly what to do. Now he has these offers on the table. He's considering 8 months. Listen, I don't know if you can last 8 months. Can you pay all your bills for over 8 months if nothing happens? I don't understand, right? Most people cannot wait 8 months. Unemployment runs out, all kind of things happen, right? So you got to learn how to find jobs. So here's the secret. Do not search by your previous job title. Search by the single word job function of the work you do. Recruiting, sales, customer and service, accounting, information technology or IT, human resources. Just a single word, the function of the job, not the job title. Okay? If you search by the job title, you're not going to get much results and you are going to think that there are no jobs open. Okay? If you need help with that, I can help you with that. But if you want me to review your resume for free, and I see you guys, Jason, Extreme, Nina, Lat Thomas, Destiny, Altria, Ray, I see you guys have sent me your resume. I can take another 90 resumes. So if 90 people want me to review their resume for free, I'll review your resume for free and tell you this needs to be changed. No, you need to adjust this. Do this. It's going to tell you exactly what to do. Now, there will be an option in there for me to help you if you want me to, but I'm going to tell you exactly what to do if you want to do it yourself. Just email me your resume right now, okay? Now that I see Linda, thank you so much for sending it. So now, right, now that you have a resume that attracts the attention of hiring managers and you are applying to 30 jobs a day per job board, 630 jobs in a week, now you're going to start getting calls for interviews. What you going to do? right? This is where a lot of people blow it. It's time for them to interview you. I'm going to tell you what the interview is not about. You might think the interview is about this, but it's not. I'm going to tell you what the job interview is actually about, so you don't make the mistake of going in and talking and not telling the hiring manager what they want to hear. Okay? So, what is the job interview not about? Okay? It's not about you telling us about your skill, experience, education, and background. We already know that. We have your resume. It was the reason why we picked you, right? Because we saw that you have the skill, experience, education, and background to do the job we need someone to do. So we're saying to ourselves, oh yeah, this person right here, they can do the job. That's awesome, right? But there is something we don't know about you, which is why we need to interview you, okay? So you do not talk about your previous skill, experience, education, and background. I talked to a guy yesterday, very high up in the federal government, a C-suite executive in the government. Not going to say his name. He is the top guy in his field, okay? And he was assigned by the Democrat Party in the last administration to do a job for the country, for this department in Ukraine. He had a 3-year contract, 3. When the new administration came in last year, okay, they said, your contract was funded for 3 years. We're cutting that funding. So he was out 1 year in. That was March of last year. He's been looking for a job since March. And he doesn't understand why. I have no idea. He's the top guy in the country in his role. But he doesn't understand why he can't find a job. And I told him, you're talking too much. You're telling people way too much about your expertise. You're talking about the wrong thing. And he says, yes. He says, man, I've heard this many times from colleagues after I did a panel interview. I said, yes. They already know you're the best. Why you keep telling them you're the best? They already know your level of expertise. Why are you continuing to tell them that? It's the only reason why you're sitting in the White House, right? It's the only reason. So you got to stop talking about that. He says, Dan, then what do I need to say? And I said, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to be saying. Okay? I said, when you were selected to do this job in Ukraine, why do you think they picked you? And he told me. And I said, that's what you need to be saying. Okay? You don't need to be talking about all the things you've done that led you up to where you are right now. That proves you can do what they need you to do right now. They already know that. So stop saying that. You're long-winded, you're beating your chest, and you're not answering what the hiring manager is asking you. That's why nobody's bringing you back in. Okay? Nina, thank you so much for that. Check this out. So what do hiring managers want to hear? There are 3 things about you we don't know when we interview you. Okay? 1, we don't know if you are a person who can stay focused. So we need to ask you some questions to see if you can stay focused. One of those questions that we ask you is, tell me about yourself, right? Do you ramble? If you do, you're out. If you talk about the wrong thing, you're out. If you talk about your skill, experience, education, and background when they say, tell me about yourself, you're not going to get hired because that's not what they're asking. They're trying to see if you're focused. Tell me about yourself. So how do you answer it? I told him, just like I'm telling you, I want you to write down your 4 greatest character traits, professional character traits. You're honest, hardworking, you're committed, right? You are a team player. You are a communicator. Whatever those 4 character traits are, write those down. And then you add in, and I'm someone you'll never have to worry about whether this job is going to get done or not. So when somebody says to me, Daniel, and this is what I told him, I know his name, but I'm going to say R. What I told R is this. I say, when somebody asks me or another one of my clients, tell me about yourself, we answer it like this. I'm a hardworking, committed, total team player who values team success far above individual success. And I'm someone you'll never have to worry about whether this job is going to get done or not. I'm going to make sure it happens. That's what hiring managers want to know. because that is a focused answer and is what they want to hear. Okay? So there's 3 things we don't know about you. Can we trust you? Can we rely on you? Can we rely on you? And can we depend on you? This is the example I gave him. I'm going to give you. And I want you to type this in the chat. Imagine I came to your city to meet you for the first time. And then I said to you, oh my goodness, I just got a call. I have an emergency. Can I borrow your car? What would you say? Type it in the chat. Yes or no. Can I borrow your car? Yes or no. What would you tell me? What would you put in the chat? What would you say? Can I borrow your car? Nisha, no. Muffin, no. Ebony, no. Mel, no. Nicole, no. Right? No, no, no. Everybody would say no. Yeah, you can't borrow my car either. Now, why won't you let me borrow your car? Here's the answer. I don't know you. I don't know you. Like, I don't have no idea who you are, man. Come on. I know you, I know about you. I know you do this interview stuff, but I don't know you. No, I'm not giving you my car. I did that years ago when I was in the Army and one of my buddies totaled my car. Okay? I don't let people drive my car. Well, hiring managers are thinking the same thing. You want me to give you this job. I see you could do the job, but I don't know you. I need to get to know you. Can I trust you? Can I rely on you? And can I depend on you? In the same way, you wouldn't let me borrow your car. They're not just going to give you this job. They're trying to find out about you. Okay? So they want to know, can I trust this person? Can I rely on them? Can I depend on them? You are going to get 3 non-behavior interview questions to determine trust, dependability, and reliability. Okay? And you're going to get 3 behavior-based questions to see how you respond in a given situation, to see if you're someone who will do what they want someone to do. Okay? So now, what are those 3 non-behavior-based questions? First question right out of the gate. Tell me if you ever got this question, ever. You come in, you sit down in an interview. Hiring manager says, welcome, thank you so much for coming. Tell me about yourself. Have you ever gotten that question in the past? Type it in the chat, yes or no. Anybody ever ask you, tell me about yourself, right? Everybody, always, yeah. Iron, yes, yes, yes. Deb, yes, yes. Everybody's telling me yes. I get that question every time. They always ask you that. Why are they asking it? They need to see if you're going to be rambling. They're not asking you to tell them about your cat, dog, your favorite food, favorite restaurant, what you like about the city. They're saying, tell me, what are your 4 greatest character traits that help me to understand that you're somebody I can trust with the keys to this job? Okay? That's what they're asking. So you say those 4 character traits, and then you say, and I'm someone you'll never have to worry about whether the job is going to get done or not. The second question right out of the gate they're going to ask you is, now we're looking at your resume, right? Now I want you to type in the chat again. Tell me if you ever got this question. If you are working right now, they're going to ask you, why are you looking to leave your current job? Or why are you not working? Why did you leave your last job? If you ever got that question, type it in the chat, yes or no. Anybody ever ask you that question in an interview? Yes, Ava, yes. Cam, yes. Go Matter, yes. Yes, Iron, yes. Everybody asks you that question. Well, why are they asking it? They're trying to see if you're a risk. That's a risk assessment question. We're trying to see if we can hear that you are risky. And if they think you're risky, they're not going to hire you. If they think you left that last job because I didn't like the way the supervisor looked at me, you're risky. You're flight risk. They're not going to hire you. Okay? So you have to answer that question the right way. How do you answer the question when somebody says, why did you leave your last job? You simply say, I was laid off if you're not working. If you are working, you simply say, well, I like this company, but my goals and values, they don't align with the company anymore. I really value team success above individual success, and that's why I am looking to make a move. That's the only way you answer it. It shows that you're not risky. Okay? That's important. The third question they're going to ask you, 1 or 2 questions, right? And that is, what do you know about us? I have a guide in my store that says what you should know before you go. There are 5 or 6 things you should know. If you get an interview, you should go to the company's website and you should find out their vision, mission, and core values, when they were founded, their core product, and the type of people they sell their product to. And all you do is repeat that, right? Again, we're trying to see if you are motivated. What's your underlying motivation? Why do you want to join us? In other words, they'll ask you that question too. Why do you want to work here? You simply say, well, I want to work here because you guys are the best and I want to work for the best. They're trying to understand your motivation. So we're trying to see if you're focused, if you're a risky hire, and what your underlying motivation is. That's what we're trying to do to get to know you, right? And those 3 questions right out the gate will tell us. If you fail to answer, like I just said, in any one of those 3 questions, it's over for you. So every candidate that I send to a hiring manager, I prep them with this information because I don't want them walking in thinking they know what's going to be asked and thinking they know what the hiring manager, and they don't know what the hiring manager wants to hear. Okay, so you have to make sure that you're answering the question in that way. Now, there's 3 behavior-based questions you're going to get, and I'm going to tell you how to answer them using the STAR interview answer framework. No one will ever tell you how to use STAR like this. I've never heard anybody else do it, and they don't teach it like this. I've been teaching it like this forever. Okay, STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. Situation, task, action, result. That's what STAR stands for, situation, task, action, result. This is how you do it. Now, when we ask behavior-based questions, we're asking those questions to determine how you will behave in problematic situations. How do you deal with difficult people like coworkers, clients, customers, managers, right? We're trying to see how you deal with difficult and unforeseen problems that arise. Like, are you going to be rattled? So we want to know how you deal with problems. And then how do you deal with ever-changing processes, right? We tell you to do it one way. Now you got to do it another way. So people, problem, and processes are what we typically use behavior-based questions to ask. And they ask it like this. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult coworker. What was the situation and how did you respond? This is the best way to use the STAR interview answer framework on the planet. You're going to call out each acronym before you give your response. So you're going to say, the situation was, and then you will say what the situation was. And then you'll say, my task was, and then you'll explain that. And then you'll say, this is the action I took, and then you'll explain that action. And this is the result we got. And that's how you'll explain it. Now, that helps you to stay focused. You're not trying to figure out what the next thing to say, which causes you to ramble, and hiring managers don't like that. When you ramble, it shows us you lack focus, and hiring managers want people to be focused, okay? Understand. It will be like me driving your car and texting at the same time. Nobody wants that, okay? So we want you to be focused. If you're a supervisor or a manager, you're going to get 2 additional questions potentially, right? Question number 1, what is your leadership style? What's your leadership style? Right? I answer that question the same way. My leadership style is I'm a leader of accountability. I hold myself accountable and to a high standard to get the job done, and I hold my team accountable to a high standard to getting the job done. You never have to worry about whether we're going to get it done. Okay? So accountability is my style. The last question they're going to ask you if you're a leader is, okay, let's say you have someone on your team who is underperforming. What are you going to do? Listen to me. Don't get fancy. Everybody try to get fancy and talk about, I helped Rick to overcome his low performance, blah, 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 all the things you've done. Don't do that. That's not what we're asking. This is really what we want to know. The only answer you should give is, well, if I have someone who is underperforming on the team, I am going to follow the progressive disciplinary policy of the company to get it corrected. So that could be verbal counseling first, a second written, a third written, verbal, and counseling, a fourth, you're out. Right? That's kind of how you answer it. That's what they want to know. Every HR pro like me, that's what we want to hear. I don't want you doing something that's outside of what the policy is for the company. I'm going to follow the policy of the company to make sure that gets corrected. That's how you need to answer it 100% of the time. All right? Now, then they're going to start talking to you about the job and all the problems they have in the job and what they want somebody to fix and blah, 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 and all these things, right? They're going to start telling you that. You are not going to relate what they're saying to you to what you did in the past, because they don't want you to talk at that time. Really, they just want you to listen. They're not asking you to solve their problem. They're not revealing a problem they have so you can tell them how you solved it in the past. So you got to stop that. You have to just listen and say, I understand that. I have experienced that in the past, and I'll make sure that does not happen here. That sounds very familiar. I went through that exact same thing at my previous job. I will make sure that does not happen here. That's how you answer it. That's all they want to know. Will you support me? Right? I got this problem. I'm telling you this problem. Can I count on you for your support? Yes. I've experienced that before. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure it doesn't happen here. Okay? Now, here is where it gets tricky for most people. You are almost at an offer at this point, like literally minutes away from hiring manager saying, yes, this is the deal. I want to make you an offer. That's what they're thinking. Then they're going to ask you this question. Tell me if you got this question before. Leave it in the chat. Do you have any questions for me? Have you ever got that question? At the end of an interview, do you have any questions for me? Type it in the chat. Yes, yes, yes. I says yes. Eva says yes. You know, Carmichael says yes. Everybody, Michelle, yes. Everybody's saying yes. I've gotten that question. They asked me, do you have any questions for me? Now, this is where so many people lose the job, because you start asking a bunch of questions like, why is the position vacated? What is the biggest problem in the role? What was the person like prior to this? What keeps you up late at night about this job? Don't ask nothing. Don't do that. Stop. Okay, please. Because you're putting the hiring manager on the spot and they feel uncomfortable, right? You don't want to ask them those questions. Here's why. They don't know the answer to them. I know that. Okay? So what I try to do before a candidate goes in to interview the hiring manager, I try to answer all those questions for you, so when you walk in, you don't have any questions. There's only one question you should ask at the end of an interview. One question. Not two, not 10, one. What is that one question? It is the only, you don't want to ask what the success looks like over the course of the next 30 days. You don't want to ask that. You don't. Okay? Please don't ask that question. There's only one question you want to ask, and that is, when would you like for me to get started? You'll say this. You'll say, thank you so much for everything you shared. I really enjoyed hearing it and understanding it. When would you like for me to get started? That's the question you ask. Now, why? Why do you ask that question? Why do I say it's the only question you should ask? Because it's the only question you don't know the answer to, and it's the only question you want to know the answer to, right? Now, you're going to hear the hiring manager say something, and I'm going to tell you how to interpret it. If they say to you, well, we do have several of the candidates that we need to interview, and following those interviews, we will then make a decision. If you ever heard that, type yes in the chat. If you ever heard that before, type yes in the chat. A hiring manager is telling you that. If you heard that before, that hiring manager is telling you, I am not going to make you an offer. Look at everybody. Yes, yes, yes. Lucia, yes. Cam, yes. Jennifer, yes. TTT, yes. Everybody. When a hiring manager says to you, hey, we do have several other people to interview, and once we have finished interviewing everyone, then we will make a decision. You're out. They don't want you. They don't like you. Okay? Move on. There's nothing you could say to change that hiring manager's mind. Okay? Now, if they say this, you are going to get an offer. So if you do everything I'm telling you during the interview process, you are about to get an offer. If they say this to you, okay, here's what the next steps are. I'm going to get with HR. Someone from talent acquisition or HR will call you. They will get you to complete your application. We do have to have you go through and pass a background check. I am looking to have someone start April 1st. Can you start then? If they say that, there is a 99.9% chance you are about to get an offer. What happens is, once that interview is over, hiring manager runs to my office and says, Dan, oh my God, thank you so much for introducing me to that person. They're perfect. I want to make them an offer. And this is when the offer process starts. And then I am going to tell you right now how to get $2,000 to $10,000 more from the offer that I'm about to give to you. Okay. So I can take another 36 people: Paige, Ayana, Taquana, Cambria, Anthony, Latanya, Cassandra. I see that you guys have sent me your resume. Thank you so much. I'll review your resume today and reply today and let you know if something needs to be fixed, tweaked, changed. And I'll tell you in my reply exactly what you need to do. Now, if you want me to do it, there'll be options there as well, but I'll tell you exactly what to do. Email it to me, daniel@dscds.com. daniel@dscds.com. You can just email it to me. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it today. Okay, not tomorrow, today. All right, watch this. So now you have an offer. So I'm going to call you and say, hey, ma'am, sir, John, Susan, Jackie, Jerry, how was the interview? It went well. You're going to say, Matt. I said, okay, great. You enjoyed it? Yes. If we made you an offer, would you accept? You're going to say yes. Now watch this. Listen. I'll say, okay, when you and I initially had a conversation, I told you the range for the position was 90 to 100. I'm using it as an example. And I said, I told you I was going to submit you at 95 and you said that was good. Okay? And you say yes. And I said, now I'm going to tell the hiring manager you want 98. Would you accept 98 if we offer that to you? Of course, you're going to say yes. You're going to tell me yes. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing it. I'll tell you in just a second. So then what I do is I go to the hiring manager and I'll say, Mr. Hiring Manager, Miss Hiring Manager, I just talked to candidates and they're excited to accept the offer. They asked me, or they were wondering, didn't ask me. They were wondering if we're able to go to 98. Now, if the hiring manager can make that decision right on the spot, they would tell me yes. I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But many times hiring managers have to go back to their manager or director or VP and say, hey, I just interviewed this person and they were awesome. I think they'll be a great fit for the team. You know, originally they wanted 95. Now they want 98. Can I do 98? They'll ask for that permission. And here's what the director says. Do you think they're worth it? When that hiring manager says yes, the director will say, yep, 98 is good. Why is that? Because it's less than the max. Okay? So the hiring manager comes back to me, says to me, we could do 98. I reach out to you. Hey, I got good news for you. We can do 98. If I send you this offer right now, will you sign it and send it back to me right now? E-sign it. You say yes, offer is made. You could do the exact same thing. How do you do that? This is the email you type. First, step one, when you get a written offer, you do not respond for 24 hours. All offers have a 3-day window, okay? So you don't respond within the first 24 hours. Don't just immediately respond. 24 hours, you wait. When 24 hours has passed, you're going to compose this email. You're going to say, thank you very much for this offer. I am very excited to get started with the team. I was wondering if the company is able to go to 98,000, whatever that number is. Thank you very much. I can't wait to get started. I'm going to say it again. You say, thank you very much for this offer. I am very excited to get started with the team. I was wondering if the company is able to go to 98, 158, whatever the number is, the new number, 2 to 5% more than what they originally offered, $2,000 to $10,000 more than what they originally offered. I was wondering if they were able to go to this new number. Thank you very much. I look forward to getting started with the team. That email comes back to me, okay? And then I have the conversation with the hiring manager or somebody like me. Then I have the conversation with the hiring manager. Now, why do they say yes 99.9% of the time? When a hiring manager interviews you and they say yes after the interview, they are emotionally and mentally invested in you. They're like, I have found my person, and they don't want to go back through the process again. You see, $1 additional to your salary is an additional $2,100 to the company. $2 additional to your salary is $4,200. $3 more to your salary an hour is $6,300. That's all a year for a company. The question is, are you worth an additional $6,300 a year? Yes, of course you are. I got $10,000 more than the max amount for my job. 10 grand over. Okay? So that's how you do it. Now, what did we just discover? I'm going to open it up for questions and answers right now. Remember, if you want me to review your resume for free, email it to me. I'll be more than happy to take a look at that. We just talked about resumes, what resumes are all about and what hiring managers want to see. Your captivating headline, what you do, how good you are doing it, and how long you've done it. Quantifiable evidence, proof that you have done this job and done it well. Numbers, percentages, that's what we want to see. The second thing we talked about is how to find jobs. Stop searching for jobs based on your previous job title. That's a very narrow search. Search for job based on your single word job function. Mine is recruiting. Yours is something else. And then you filter about other things to get it down. Third thing we talked about are interviews. 6 to 8 questions every hiring manager will ask you. Most of you said yes in the chat. They're going to ask you those questions every time. Okay. They've been asking them for 35 years that I've been doing this. All of them. Okay. And then we finally talked about how to get $2,000 to $10,000 more from every single written offer you got. Here's the deal. Nothing will change in your life, not one thing, unless you take action. Knowledge is not enough. You can have the information, but if you don't act on the information, everything is going to continue to be the exact same way. Nothing's going to change. So you have the information. Now you have to take action on it. If you want things to change in your career, you want to make more money, you want to get promoted, you want to do those things, you have to learn to take action. I can take a few questions and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Just leave it in the chat. Remember, I can take an additional, okay, I just had another 12 or 13. I can take 16 more, 17 more people. Johnson, Monica, Talisha, Kim, Aaron, Cheryl, Rachel, I got your resumes. I can take another 15 to 20 resumes. If you want me to review your resume for free, I'll review it for free. Just send it to me, email it. I'll reply to today. Today, I'm going to reply to it and let you know if any tweaks need to be made. And I'll tell you what those tweaks are so you can do it yourself. If you have a question, okay, if you have a question, leave it in the comments. Thank you for helping others who don't know this. You're doing a great service. Thank you. I'm going into my third interview in person. What should I expect? It's with 3 different teams. Listen to me. This is very good, Angela. Whenever you get to the third interview and they're interviewing with a team, you're already there. The team members that you are going to be interviewing with, this is what they're thinking. I'm going to tell her all of the problems I want her to partner with me and fix. Okay, that's it. So you're going to just say, yes, I understand. That sounds very familiar. I'll make sure I help you with that. Yes, that sounds very familiar. I understand. I'll help you with that. Do not ask these team members any questions and don't get fancy. You're just riding along. Be a backseat driver. Don't be a passenger driver. Let them show you and tell you all of the good, bad, and ugly, and you just say, yes, I understand. Absolutely, that makes sense to me. When you do that, they're going to go back to the hiring manager and say, she's awesome. And they're going to make you an offer. Okay? That's what you need to make sure you're doing. All right, if you have a question, leave it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer that question for you. I can only take a couple of questions today, and that's it. Let me see here. All right. What is the 4 you discussed? I know one was focused. No, you have to pick your own character traits. So mine is, I'm a hardworking, committed, loyal, total team player, and I value team success above individual success. What question will they ask? They're asking you a bunch of questions. We went through that. Rika says perfect timing. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Can you give me an example of some interview questions and how to best answer them for a leadership role? I have a interview question and answer cheat sheet, top 50 questions you'll ask. If you're a leader and you don't know which questions they're going to ask you, for the most part, they're going to ask you a bunch of the questions that I've already talked about today. Book a one-on-one session with me. I'll be more than happy to tell you. Can we talk about how to answer? Why should we hire you? Yes, you should say, you should hire me because I understand the challenges this position poses, and I have the skill, experience, and education to solve those problems. Okay? I know what the challenge is, and I can solve it for you. Okay? I know you need to hire 3,000 people. I know how to hire 3,000 people, whatever that is for you. Okay? How do you answer what pay rate you're looking for? You never, ever give a number. Okay? What you want to do is if you don't see the pay range, before you go to any interview, you should know it, by the way. In fact, I had a conversation about that this morning with someone. All right. What you should do is go to Google or ChatGPT and you're going to type in what is the pay range for position title at whatever the company name is, and then press search. It'll send you back the range. And when they ask you what kind of money you're looking for, you simply say, I know the range for this job. I've already done the research. I'm at the top of the range. That's how you answer it. Okay, 100% of the time. What if they ask me during the interview, what is my expected salary? We just said that. We talked about that. Okay. And then let me see here. Can you give an example of interview questions best answer for leadership? We talked about that in just a second. Great video help for information. How to cross the career break with having a child. I don't understand what you are asking me. If you had I think you're saying you had a child, you had a break, and now you want to go back to work. If that's what you're asking me, we don't care about gaps in employment. We care about your ability to solve a problem. So the problems that you were able to solve pre-child, we believe are the same problems you can solve post-child. So put yourself out there to as many people as possible. All right? You can't even get a call back, Mo said. And I'll tell you why they're not calling you back, because your resume is broken. They don't like what they see. You understand? I hope this was helpful to you, and thank you guys so much for joining the live. I am going to attempt to go live again this afternoon, so you can join me and you can hear this again. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the likes, for all of the follows, for all of the gifts. I will talk to you very soon. Take care.